Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Quiet Storm Collective, where real stories, lived experience, and transformative voices are honored. I'm your host, Latoya Murchison. Tonight, I am joined by Brooke Davidoff, and our conversation is rooted in resilience, creativity, advocacy, and survival. Brooke, thank you for being here. Your story reminds us that even in uncertainty, purpose can rise. Brooke, how are you doing this evening?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
You are welcome. Okay, my first question is you grew up in San Diego, California, where you studied journalism and theater in the late 90s. How did storytelling and performance first become a part of your identity?
Wow. Um, I was not sportsy, and my parents wanted us to do like extracurricular activities,
Mhm.
and tap dancing was like my thing, and I was into musicals, so I got into theater. And I was in San Diego Children's Theater, and I actually grew up with Adam Lambert. And I met him, he was in fourth grade, and I was in seventh grade, and we were in Annie together. And that's how I got into theater. And then in my high school history teacher told me that I was a good writer, and she suggested that I take a journalism class. And I was on the high school newspaper the next 2 semesters, and I was on, yeah, my college's newspapers as well. So theater and journalism like grew up as part of me.
Okay. How do you think those early creative foundations prepared you, whether you realized it then or not, for the advocacy and writing you will later step into?
I think it's like a crazy combination of what I do. So dreams do come true, just sometimes in fucked up ways. I'm sorry for my language, but um, it made me not afraid. I think it gave me the power to fight the stigma that I see a lot of people who don't have either of those backgrounds. Um, my advocacy started with journalisming, because I started writing a book about being diagnosed as a positive woman pregnant because I couldn't find a book about it. I couldn't find anything on Google about it. And in 2010, now I know there were tons of women with it, but Google didn't want me to find them. So, yeah. And then the speaking part came like years and years later. But I think theater also helped me to not be afraid to get up and speak, because I'm used to taking on other people's traumas and like transforming them with mine to be a theatrical thing on stage. Or even I took film acting in college and like stage and film. So I'm used to being vulnerable in front of a lot of people. I'm not used to being vulnerable in front of one person. So I'm probably more comfortable giving a soliloquy about all my feelings to hundreds of people than I am in a room with one person telling them how I feel.
You later moved to Seattle, got married, became pregnant, and received an AIDS diagnosis. That's a lot for anyone to process at one time. What do you remember most about that season in your life?
With having reflection on it, I call it medical negligence, I think, and the
Ooh.
trauma that came from it. And that if I hadn't been sent to an organization called Babes within like months of my diagnosis, where I found a whole bunch of women in Seattle who also had HIV, if I didn't have that group, I'm not sure that I would have become an advocate, because those women showed that you can transform trauma into power, and that your future is in your hands, and that just because you failed the blood test, that day doesn't deserve to have power over the rest of your life. And if you take it back, then you make it just be a diagnosis. And if you let it control who you are and who you become, and you let it silence you, then the disease wins.
How did you navigate an AIDS diagnosis simultaneously, especially while still finding your footing with your emotion and how you physically felt?
I think from trauma writing.
Hmm.
After a couple of doctor appointments at my OBG, I was sent to a high risk OBG who handled the HIV women because I guess we're high risk for some weird reason. They need a new word for that also. She sent me to the website thebody.com, and then they had poetry month, so I sent in a poem, and I got picked up as a writer, and my blogs had my email address, and people reading my stories who had never told anybody began writing me. I still have a Gmail folder of these people who shared their personal stories, and I tried to like write back to every single one of them. And those people, I have like 3 Facebook friends who became my friends because of this. And this goes back to like 2010. So it's a very long time that I have interacted with other positive people who secretly disclosed to me, and they didn't have anyone else to tell that to, because I think a lot of places don't have support groups in their ID offices, and they don't have, even if they do, 90% of the patients and the people that are going there don't know. So I was lucky to have the Babes organization to help me cope with an AIDS diagnosis as a newlywed, as a pregnant person for the first time in a city that I did not grow up in, that I didn't have a support system in, and that I then had a negative husband who called me the Grim Reaper. And so the stigma was in my house, but the people in my email, strangers who I like became positive brothers and sisters with, those people became like my support to cope with living with him.
How important is it to have a strong support system?
It means everything. As a peer navigator in an ID clinic, in a hospital outpatient setting in my previous job, most of the people that I met with who were positive, only the medical staff knew about their status. Most of their family didn't know. They didn't have friends who knew. And it's such like a stark contrast to walk past the Pause magazines on the wall with my friends on them to the people in the rooms who cry at every appointment. For years, there's a patient and he cries every single time, and it's over 2 years.
Wow.
So the lack of like emotional, I guess, support that these people have, it's terrible to think that like you have to be in advocate spaces and know important, powerful people on magazines in different states across the country to feel emotionally okay with yourself, to not cry in those rooms, right? Like you have to be empowered or it takes it from you.
So what I hear you saying is you have to learn how to separate your personal emotions from your work emotions when you're working with client as a peer navigator, when you're working with clients.
And to understand that, like, I know not everybody's going to be on the magazine, but the difference that the support I had, how I got to transform into something, and how like a lot of people don't have. It's like medical neglect. To me, it's like emotional medical neglect, that these spaces aren't made mandatory or like not for the people to have to go to, but within HIV spaces, so these people have the opportunity to see that like this can empower you. It doesn't have to kill you, emotionally kill you. Yeah.
Within months of your diagnosis, you began blogging for thebody.com and later for HIV.net and Positive Women Network. Writing so soon after your diagnosis takes courage. What pushed you to share your story publicly at a time when many people retreat into silence?
I blame Olivia Ford, who I saw in a Zoom today. Her camera was not on, but I saw her name, and I blame Olivia because when I sent in a poem on National Poem Month or whatever, I've been writing poetry since 1992. So to sit down and write a poem about my new diagnosis, where Google told me I'm the only person who's female, and the only person who's alive, like Google was terrible. It was very easy to write a poem and send in a little like bio of like, oh my God, what the fuck am I doing? Like, I can't believe, I still don't believe I'm positive. I don't understand because there's no books in my library in the self-help section, in the HIV section written by women diagnosed while pregnant. So like, if this doesn't exist, clearly I can't be that. So she sent me a letter. She's like, we think you should blog. I think you should come write for us. And I said, like, I'm like the least knowledgeable person about HIV. Like, I wasn't even told that I could get it. Like, I'm an idiot. Like, what do you mean I should blog about it? I have no idea. Like, I knew that my husband didn't have it. I knew I had no symptoms. And I knew that that made no sense to me, that I could have AIDS, I could be pregnant, I could not be physically sick, and he could still not have, like, it didn't make any sense at all to me. So I thought it was a conspiracy theory. So to like write for a prestigious thing that my doctor told me to go read, right? Your doctor says, go read thebody.com. And thebody.com says, hey, come write for us. You're like, what? Like, clearly I'm not qualified. Like, my doctor reads this website. I am not who you need to be the voice of the people. And she told me to try it, and so I did. And I'm still writing. So, yeah.
So your writing is your therapy.
It's well, I would do it anyway.
Okay.
So yeah, like it's my process, I guess, to like through trauma, but for me to learn. So Babes had me speak at World AIDS Day, my first year diagnosed. I was diagnosed in January. I had my son in June. World AIDS Days, not very far, like not even a year knowledgeable about HIV. And it was like 5 prompted questions and then open for the audience to ask questions. And the people who had questions in the audience were like, I've been positive for this many years, and can I get it? Can I give it to somebody from oral sex? And they wanted me to I was like, why are you talking to me? Like, you've had this for how many years? How come you haven't looked this up? How come you haven't researched? How come a doctor hasn't had this conversation with you? So it helped me see like the gap, and that like the more medical things I read, the more I didn't understand them. And like when I got tested positive, I lived with a friend. We lived in his basement. He lived in the basement and we had his house. He was a nurse. He was also positive. So he was like call him like a Brookie translator, because he made medical jargon Brookie language, because I'm sarcastic and I need like small words. And yeah, medical jargon doesn't make sense. So I wanted to make like Dummy's Guide to HIV to help these people and be like the bridge of knowledge from medical jargon to kind of like journalism, right? Like, yeah.
Have you considered putting your writings in, taking your writings and publishing them?
I have. I
I think
don't
they
really
will
know what
make
that
a great
entails.
book.
Like, I know I need to type them all. I have them sectioned. I used to have them in chronological order. So from starting from 1992 poetry, that's a long time. So I've tried to put them in sections. So they're now in sectioned 3-ring binders. Some sections are typed, some are not.
Okay.
But I haven't dug too deep into like the middle of how that happens, like how it gets from pretty gel pen to typed to a fancy book on a website or whatever. But when I am ready, I'm gonna call my friend Latoya, who's published so many books, and be like, "Hey, girl, how do you do this?"
And I'll help you every step of the way. Anything you need, all you have to do just ask, and I'll be right there. It's you're gonna be awesome at. I can see you writing a series actually of different books because of the knowledge and everything that you went through. You're gonna help a whole lot of people.
No,
So I definitely look forward to that book coming out.
most of it's poetry.
What did writing give you? You kind of already answered this a little bit, but I want you to expand a little bit more. What did writing give you during that time? Was it healing, release, connection, or something else entirely?
Probably all the above. Um, when you live with somebody who's not a safe person, and you're
Mm.
hundreds of miles away from your mom or like anywhere safe to like go, like writing becomes your salvation, right? For me, not for everybody. Um, Dealing with medical trauma, and they for nobody I see, they don't send you to like a therapist. They just think that you can like handle, hey, you have AIDS, have a great day. Like, I don't know who could handle such a diagnosis, right? Like people with cancer diagnosis, they're followed up by mental health care. People with terminal diagnoses are given social workers and all sorts of things. And this diagnosis, we're just like shoved out the door. So I think writing also helped me cope with that. And the stigma, right? Like, who do you call? I didn't know all these famous people on magazines. I couldn't have called. I'm not going to name drop, but I didn't have their phone numbers. I didn't have their contacts. I didn't have the connections with even a support group to say like, holy crap, I didn't know women could get this. Like, what the? How do you have the words to like? Who do you even say that to? Because there's not support group posters hanging in the hallways. There's not flyers being handed out, even at the ID clinic. They won't print things that say HIV on them because people won't take it out the door. I'm like, but my friend's on the magazine. Like, she proves that it's safe. Like, the self stigma that places create by not putting it on there, by putting it in braille, by putting it in backward, like writing it in code. I don't know. Like, I think we have to get past the self stigma, and it has to be something unshameless. We failed the blood test. Like, that's it. I failed the blood test. I didn't study. I was not told. To me, that's medical negligence. We were not told that we were at risk. We were not told. We're all put on birth control and like sent out the door. And then it's not checked up until you're pregnant or until you ask for it or until you're like deathly ill. So yeah, I had to write to get over the medical neglect, the medical trauma, the holy crap, now I'm a mom. Like, that's also things I have learned along the journey, is that trauma to a woman who's pregnant causes trauma to the fetus. And they don't know what it does really like long term. And also, if all these women knew they had it before they were pregnant, right? If you did screenings at normal OB-GYNs, our kids wouldn't have had to drink liquid AZT as babies. And who knows what that does to them? Like, what kind of testing is followed up on the children of the positive moms who take antiretroviral all sorts of chemicals during pregnancy, right, that goes into them. So they absorb all these kinds of crazy medications, and then they're given them the first 6 weeks. I think now it's less than 6, but like they wouldn't have to have all that if you tested us at every OBG appointment.
We're getting a lot of comments in the comment section. We have powerful testimony. Thank you for sharing your story. There's one a special. This we've come a long way because of you. We have so many women with support groups, especially PWN.
Yeah, so Babes, the founder of Babes in Seattle, is a PWN founder. And so I had immediate, like, you need to find Pat immediately sent me to PWN and to all these, to the Well Project and the reunion. Like, she had contacts, but not everyone has a Pat in their neighborhood, and not everyone has a PWN founder that happens to live in their neighborhood when they're diagnosed positive. So I am very grateful for the mentors and the leaders who guided me through what could have been. I could still be crying in the doctor appointments like these kids.
Can you tell us about some of the organizations you've worked with since you were diagnosed?
Like HIV places?
Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be just HIV, just in general. That's a part of your story, your journey since your diagnosis.
I got on a community action group with the American Academy of HIV Medicine, which is like a fancy place where they help credential doctors and like pharmacists. And the CAG, we get to help write policy for patients. I get to sit in as a surprise guest when they have Zooms with students who are in pharmacy school and in doctor training to be ID doctors. And at the end, they ask if they have questions. And I usually get the last 30 minutes to hop in and say, like, I'm a positive person, and this is how I was diagnosed in a doctor's office, and this is what it was like, and probably your stereotypes of who you're diagnosing is not a white lady. So like, I'm here to bust all sorts of like glass and make you definitely second guess who your stereotypes and who you think is your positive people, to let you know that like it's everybody. I did a fellowship with Planned Parenthood, an advocacy and education fellowship, and I'm trying to work with one of their actual policy woman on my HIV policy fellowship with Positive Women's Network that I'm working on right now.
How important is it for advocates to learn about policy and become involved?
I think it depends on what part of advocacy you want to do, because it's not for everybody. Not everyone grew up wanting to be Barbara Walters. So I had like a journalism itch from middle school, high school. And so poli-sci is part of that. So I have to like understand that kind of stuff. And I took even like law stuff. I tried to take a law class in college, and they were like, what are you doing here? Like, it was constitutional law. It was Donald Trump. Like, who wouldn't want to take that? I'm like, I need to learn about all the things he's breaking, because clearly there's a gap here in like what the law is and how the law is being followed. So I need to learn constitutional law because I'm seeing it not be enacted. So stuff like that like interests me. It's my drive. I was raised by hippies and a draft dodger, because their human rights beliefs are like, we should not kill people. So I had that kind of background before the HIV land like smashed into my life. But not everyone is comfortable with policy. Not everyone is comfortable with journalism, not everyone's even comfortable being all the way out.
Mm-hmm.
So not all advocates have to be on Pause Magazine. Not all of them have to do live videos with their friend Toya, who is also unafraid of positiveness, right? So like I don't judge people who don't have a theater background to be like, fuck it, you know. And people also I've lived with HIV in like 5 states, 4 or 5. So watching people who are diagnosed in their home city is a whole different type of trauma that those people have that I for sure didn't. I was diagnosed in Seattle. I didn't know a person in Seattle. I could walk into the HIV clinic, pick up my meds, go see a doctor. I'm very sure I'm not going to run into somebody from middle school, somebody from church, somebody from anywhere, because I don't know them. But people that I peered here in Kansas City, the people that drive like an hour and a half to 2 hours from where their neighborhood is, so nobody in their city can see them at this clinic. So like that stigma is crazy. Like it's not crazy, you know. It's not crazy, but that people feel that ashamed of it to drive that far just for a doctor when they don't have to.
We have a question from HIV advocate Dawn. What is one thing you would tell a new person diagnosed with HIV, and that's looking to become an advocate? How would they start?
I would send them links to a whole bunch of advocacy spaces and invite them into multiple rooms, because not every space feels comfortable for everyone. And there's so many options of girl groups that people, not so many, but there's the Well Project, right? The Reunion Project isn't girls. The Girl Like Me, those girls are different from the PWN girls, and some of them have overlapping. Even Sister Love, or depending on like what regional location. Even I try to send people all the time to join the caucus committee, and I tell them like, this is a huge opportunity, and all you have to do is show up. And you don't have to have like a specific skill or background, because everyone's needed somewhere. And even just to be there and hear what's going on, like right now, we are missing a Florida ADAP meeting to like learn about like what the craziness is going on in Florida and how advocates can help navigate people and like what you do. So there's lots of places to send people. It's just that they need to have the people like us who know where to send them. And in lots of ID clinics, people don't know that we exist, right? You have to know about PWN to know about PWN. You have to know about the Well Project. You have to know about all of these, even the caucus, right? Like my doctor never said, go look at the caucus. Like, I don't know. We need better ways to try to recruit people.
Definitely.
I think we need flyers for more organizations. The Well Project has trifold, fourfold, whatever. They had 4 different kinds of flyers for women, and they came in Spanish and English, and they'll send them to your ID clinic for free, and like tons of them. And so I sent out for my clinic to get those, because it was an updated one about chest and breastfeeding.
Mm-hmm.
There's one about sexual pleasure, sexual health, and I think it was for older people, that like old people can have sex too.
Right. Stacy asks, how has writing made a difference in your journey? And do you feel that writing is therapeutic for all?
I don't think it's therapeutic for everybody. I've been in writing groups since middle school. And then there's a Thursday night HIV writing Zoom group. I've taken like novel writing and all sorts of. So I therapeutically write anyway.
Mm.
And I guess have I don't know, I'm used to writing groups where you share all your stuff. And like, to me, it's not vulnerable to be like, hey, look, I wrote this. You don't have to read it. You can read it. But like, to me, that's way less invasive than when you get asked to like come to a speaking thing. Like, right? I think it's way easier to type a blog about like, holy crap, I went to the doctor and this was so weird because my doctor stood 4 feet away from me and said, hey, I have a cold. And I went, right. But you're at work and you're dealing with other people. So are you standing in that corner for everybody or just for me? So wow. Yeah, I need to write about those things anyway, or I would like explode. But some people are probably intimidated by blank paper, right? Not everyone writes for their outlet or their trauma, whatever. People paint, people read. I know people who like read books like there's no tomorrow. Not me. I have to like write in color. Yeah, I think the writers know that they're writers. Okay. And other people you can like try, you can give them the books that have like, here's a prompt. You could write a daily prompt every day. I can't do those books. Like, I'm going to write every day anyway. That prompt thing is going to bother me because I don't feel like writing about that. Like, why are you I'm going to write like a rebuttal under it. Like, so I think different things work for everybody.
Right. What keeps you grounded when the work gets heavy, political, or emotionally demanding?
Maybe cannabis. Adult coloring books, but still like writing, like that's my outlet. So being a California girl living in the stupid Midwest and it's freezing and like I can't go for a walk. I can't, it's too cold. I'm not wearing 8 layers of pants. Like, yeah. Yeah, I have to write.
Did you ever imagine during your early days of blogging that your voice would be one of major influence in policy and national conversations?
No. And I've been told that I have imposter syndrome because I still like don't believe that I'm like anything more than somebody who writes and shares it. Like I don't feel like I'm the fancy magazine cover people. Yeah.
If someone's listening today is newly diagnosed or struggling to see how their story still has value, what would you want them to know and what advice would you have for them?
That your diagnosis does not define you. That it's not your fault. You are not like guilty of anything. God is not punishing you from anything. You're not being, it's not for bad people to get. You were probably not taught how to protect yourself. And for real, people don't look sick. People with AIDS, like that's when I was a peer, that's like the first thing for newly diagnosed people that I would walk into the room and be like, I was diagnosed with AIDS in 2010 and I thought I was going to die. And my doctor was not like the friendliest person. I'm like, you're going to be okay. And I know you don't believe it, but one day you're going to like replay this in your head when you're like okay with this. And you're going to see that like you're going to be okay. But
I agree. How do you personally define purpose after everything you've lived, written, and advocated about?
I don't define purpose. I just keep going. I just keep writing and I keep talking and I keep looking for spaces and learning more and trying to navigate. I currently work at a health department, so I'm trying to like help navigate those spaces to help get positive voices in those rooms. And however I can make helpful impacts while I'm here, I guess that's my purpose. But with funding cuts and the government trying to kill us, like, we need Dumbledore's army. But yeah, I mean, it's different. So, like, also working in public health is different as a positive person than a not positive person, and working in HIV spaces within the health department, and that, like, the caseworkers get to just go home, right? They don't get to, like, they don't have to care emotionally about Florida. They don't know those people. They don't know Kamaria. They don't know the faces and, like, people that make real connections to that space. They just hear, like, oh, 1,600 people, 2,300 people. It's just numbers. But when you know the advocates and you know that, like, they have people, right? They have peers, they have casework, they're case managers in these places, and, like, all the people that they have to emotionally support while trying not to fall apart themselves, to other HIV advocates and people living with, that impacts us emotionally, because we can say, like, holy shit, I can't afford my meds at all. Right? You get that slip, you get your meds delivered, and it says, oh, cool, here's, you paid $0, but your medication was $4,500 blah 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 dollars that somebody paid for. Sure as hell wasn't me. I don't have the money. Like, even if I didn't spend any of my paychecks, I don't have that much money in a month. Be like, here's my meds. So to, like, think of the trauma that stays with us, right? That stays with the positive people, that stays with the allies that are involved and invested. But the people that clock out 5 o'clock, they get to go home and watch football and basketball, and they don't live HIV lives at home. It's a totally different world, and they don't understand the emotional trauma that we don't get to take it off. It's not a jacket, right? It's inside of us. We don't get to, like, not have HIV today. I'm gonna have it tomorrow. I have a red ribbon somewhere. Like, it's everywhere. We don't get to clock out. So yeah.
What's next for you? And do you have any final thoughts for the listeners?
What's next for me? I'm currently doing a policy fellowship with there's so many P's. Positive Women's Network. I'm trying to work on a PrEP pitch for women. That conversation needs to be in OBG offices for women on birth control and people with uteruses on birth control and having sex. And it doesn't matter what color you are. It doesn't matter if they want to put the word risk in front of you or not, that anyone who has sex without a condom is at risk of acquiring HIV, because nobody with it looks like they have it. You're not going to know. It's invisible. And unless you're protecting yourself, you have no idea who you've been with and if they have it. And because my friend Angie posted on her Facebook like 2 days ago, would you sleep with or date somebody who has an STD, who knows they have it and they're on medication for it? And the comments, she's positive, but the comments, I'm sure some of those men who replied to her post just to see, she just wanted, like, to feel it out, what people think, because not everyone knows, right? People are dumb. It's all over her page. People still wrote, like, the dumbest, craziest things. And just the ignorance that's out there. They're like, I ain't never going to sleep with someone with that. How do you, like, you have no idea. So a lot of work needs to be done. So yeah, I'm working on a PrEP pitch for that. I don't know. Maybe I'll work on a book and have LaToya. I'll work on typing so that Latoya can tell me how to turn my books into books.
Definitely, whenever you're ready, you just reach out to me or let me know, and I'll walk you through the process from beginning to the end.
You're so sweet.
Brooke, thank you for turning your creativity into advocacy and survival into leadership. Your voice reminds us that when shared boldly, it can change systems and save lives. Thank you for listening to the Quiet Storm Collective. Until next time, remember, even in the storm, purpose still speaks. Everyone, have a good night.